Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once more to our channel, The New Shooter. I'm your host. My name is Tepo. Today I'm at home. I'm doing a retake of the New Shooter Masterclass series, How to Find the Speed of Your Bullet. So I'm doing the retake because the day when I was at the range, I'm not sure whether it was with the editing of the footage or while I was there, I thought the camera was rolling, but it was not. But I came here at home and I was trying to put a video together for you guys, and the video was just not there. I couldn't find the footage. So I'm doing this retake now to replace that footage that I've lost. Okay, so the name of the class is the second episode, actually, the second episode of the New Shooter Masterclass series, How to Find the Speed of Your Bullet. So while we were at school back in the days, we learned that average velocity equals to distance that the object travels and how long multiplied by how long it took that object to get to the end point of that distance. Okay, so backdropping on that, um, we're now going to figure out how we're going to be able to do that, to find out the speed or the average speed of a bullet that leaves the muzzle onto target. So there are two ways on how you can do that. You can either use some type of a chronograph or a lab radar or whatever you have and use that to find out the speed of your bullet. Or secondly, you can either use your environment. So we're going to do the latter since I don't have those gadgets. So all you need is a shooting range that has at least 300 yards. Because what I've learned in my experience as a new shooter is that at 300 yards, the properties of the drop of a bullet start to develop around 300 yards, but it is preferable if you can find a range that has 600 yards in excess. Okay, but those are not easy to come around. The shooting range that I'm using, likely for me, we do have that 300 yard range, so I was able to use that to find the speed of the bullet that I was shooting that day, which will be introduced in this class just after I've done doing this introduction. All right, so that's what you need, at least 300 yards. Now, if you remember the first class of this new shooter masterclass series, we were talking about how to find a zero, a master zero, and we're using two shots to be able to find a zero. And we found out how we can apply the information that we have to find two zeros, which was the first one, the precision zero, which is the 100-yard zero, and the maximum point blank range zero, which I purposefully set for my purposes on at 34 yards. Okay, so like we said, depending on the speed of your bullet, you can set it at different ranges. But what I found out also is that the rimfire cartridges, if you want to find the best maximum point blank range zero, it would be between 29 and 38. So what I did, I chose the middle part. I used 34, and it worked out just fine. So when you find out or want to find out the speed of that bullet, what you would do is you would take your zero as it is, whether it is a maximum point blank range zero or your precision zero, which is 100 yards. You don't change anything. You don't dial for 300. You put your target at 300 and you keep your zero. And you take a shot at target on a specific point in the target, point of aim. So what you realize is that if your point of aim is here, because now the distance is further than your zero, you're going to experience a drop in impact. So now what we're going to do in this class, we're going to measure that drop and use that information to find out the speed of our projectile as it leaves the muzzle. Okay, and I found that it is accurate for my purposes. If you want a more perfect speed, you will need longer ranges, but if 300 is what you have, 3100 is what you will use, and it will be sufficient for that. Okay, so like I've said, you'll measure that distance and you'll take that drop information and you will put it onto your ballistic calculator. Now, in the next class of the New Shooter Masterclass series, which will be the third episode, we are going to learn now how to use a ballistic calculator to put in different information onto that calculator so that it can give us solutions on how to impact targets at distance. All right. So what am I leaving behind now? Before we start getting into the meat and bones of this class, or did they call it meat and potatoes? Okay, whatever it is. So before we get into the class, that's what you'll need. You'll need your zero. You'll need a 300-yard target. I mean, you'll need a 300-yard range. You put your target at 300 yards. You take a shot with your zero on a point of aim. You'll experience your drop of impact. You take that distance of the drop, and you will take that info and put it in the ballistic calculator, and the ballistic calculator will give you the speed. So what we will do is we will use both zeros and see how far or what will be the difference of calculations with the algorithms with a 34-yard zero as compared to the 100-yard zero. See if there's any disparities there. Okay, so let's get on to it. Enough of me talking. Let's get to the shooting range and get behind the gun and fire some shots at 300 yards. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've just come back from the target. Now, if you'd remember, I had 2 zeros that I've set on the last video, which was a 100-yard and a 34-yard zero. So initially, my plan was to take a shot at 300 yards with a 34-yard, but I ended up taking a shot with a 100-yard zero, and my drop on target was 36 centimeters. All right, we are now here at the range, the backstop rather. So what happened? The plan was to go down 10 clicks, right, and take shot with a 32-yard zero. But what I ended up doing, I engaged this target with a 100-yard zero. So let's see how much drop we've had. So I was aiming here. Actually, I was aiming right there, right? And how much drop did I have? The impact are right there. All right, so the average of that will be on that line right there. Okay, so I'm going to measure from here up to there and see how much drop I've had. Just hold on, let me get a tape and measure from the center of that to the center of that, and it gives me approximately 36 centimeters, which I need to convert to inches. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 witness shots onto target with a 34-yard zero. So I'm going to go and drop 10 clicks. All right, let's not forget to do that. So we're going to count. Actually, it's not down, we're counting up now. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is a 34-yard zero. I'm going to aim at the same point and send that shot away. Okay. Shot 1 is away. Second witness. Second shot is away. Second witness. All right. So I'm going to drive on there and find out how much drop we had with the 32 and compare it to. All right. We are here at the target. We set a 34-yard zero onto this target. Remember, this was the 100-yard zero and the drop was 36 centimeters. Now with a 34-yard zero, strangely enough,
Look at that. My point aim was there, and my two impacts are there. Okay, so that is a drop of how much?
All right, welcome again, ladies and gentlemen, to this part of the segment of the new shooter masterclass series, how to find the speed of your bullet. Remember, this is episode 2 of the new shooter masterclass series. In the first episode, we talked about how to find a zero. In this episode, we're talking about how to find the speed of your bullet, and we have covered a lot of ground before we get to this segment. Now we're going to use the information that we received in the previous segment and apply it onto the ballistic calculator and actually figure out what is the speed of the bullet that we just used in the past segment. All right, so we'll be using a ballistic calculator. You can use any ballistic calculator of your choice. I am using Fordov. I find it easy for me to use, and you can use whatever ballistic calculator that you'll find it easy to use. So what I'll be doing, I'll be sharing the screen with you so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So what you will do, you'll go to the app, and now because the bullet that I was using was not a Hornady bullet, I was using a different bullet. So what I will do, I will not go to the Fordov part of the ballistic calculator. I'll go to the BC part of the calculator and click on my favorites. Now the profile for the projectile that we used, I've already populated that so we can just get straight to the point. All right, it is the new shooter masterclass series um, profile using 140 grain on a 6.5 PRC. All right, we'll click on that. So what we will do once we get onto the HUD, at the bottom right of the screen, there's this little tick box there. You click on it and it will take you to the maximum range and the interval. The maximum range is the point where you put your target. The interval is how many intervals that you'll have until you get to it. So since we don't want a lot of information, we just want to get to the point, we also put 329. 329 is the distance where I put the target, what that we did our experiment on. We'll click on set, and right at the bottom there, that's where you'll find the drop. Now remember, with our experiment, the drop was 6.8 inches. So what we need to do now, we need to find out what speed in these algorithms which will allow us to receive or to have a drop of 6.8. At the present moment, we have 8.53. This is more than the drop of our experiment. Naturally, it means that the speed that we have on here would be slower than what we used. So what we will do, we'll go back to the HUD, we'll go to the edit rifle info, and we will change the speed part, the velocity, and see how it affects our drop information on the drop sheet. So it is 2833. Let's make it 2933 and see how much drop we will have. All right, go on to the drop sheet, 6.8. All right, now we know approximately exactly that our speed is 2933 with a 34 yard zero. But now the question is, since we had two zeros, the 34 yard and 100 yard, what will happen to the speed or the drop if we change the zero? Now let's go back to the HUD and go on to the zero range and change that to 100. All right, go back and save. Now remember, with a 100 yard zero, the drop that we had there was 36 centimeters, which equates to approximately 14.173 inches. Let's see if that is the same. What do you know? There it is right there, 14.01. All right, so this is the zero that the calculator is telling us. 14.173 is the zero that we calculated when we measured the drop. So if you want to split hairs, all right, let's see what's the disparity there. The zero that we have on the calculator is 14.01. All right, let's do that. 14.01, and let's minus it. The zero that we measured was 14.173. So it is basically 0.163 of an inch. Now, a 6.5 bullet is 0.260. All right, so, all right, let's do this. I'm interested to find something. 0.260 divided by 2. So it's almost approximately a split of the thickness of that bullet. So basically what I'm saying is, if you were to shoot um, that target at 329 yards with the speed of, if you manipulate the speed though, and we manipulate it to be 14.173, or use this 14.01, you would not know the difference. It will be so close together that it will be one whole. So we can see that the method that we use is actually precise and exact, and it can be trusted to be able to give us the exact speed of the projectile or the bullet that we're using. But I've said, if you want a more perfect reading of that speed, you will have to use longer ranges, say up to 600 yards or beyond, to be able to do that. That will give us a more realistic uh, speed of our bullet. But this is good for now, and it is enough for our purposes. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is how you will find the speed of your bullet. Let me stop this screen share. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we have seen now how to do that. We take our zeros, you choose 300 yards, you take shot at 300 yards with your zero, 3400, whatever drop you get, you take it, put it onto the ballistic calculator, and the ballistic calculator will be able to determine what speed is that bullet, because it will measure how long it took from the muzzle of your rifle to that point. All right, based on that drop. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, whether you're at the range, at home, or hunting, don't pull the shot. Pull the trigger. Peace out.